And hello, welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christy Santiago. Say hello.
That's me. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yes, happy Friday. We are coming to you from the past, and not like 3 seconds from the past like usual, but more like 22 hours from the past. We're recording early because I got a little Halloween party going on tonight.
Or we're
that you are all invited to, so come on over. But yeah, so we're going to do this fun little show tonight. We do not have a crap ton of news to go through because there's a crap ton of news to go through, and we just didn't have time this week to keep up with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about how Bernie's back, hashtag. I think it's hashtag Bernie back though, right? So I'm sorry.
Can I just say the chills? The chills.
Chills, yeah.
The chills.
If you guys watched the comeback campaign in like New York City,
yes,
you get the chills. It was awesome. It was so good. It was so good.
There were times, I don't know, tell me if this happened to you, where I just wanted to, I know you guys are excited, like the audience, but I just want to hear them. Can you quit being so excited for them? Which, I mean, I wouldn't want it the other way. I like that they're excited for them, but geez, yeah. Bring it from a boil to a simmer so I want to hear the message. But that's how excited they were there. It was amazing. Yes.
Yeah, well, now to really say how excited they were, we got to say how many excited people there were. Did you hear how many people were there, Christy?
They had a permit for 22,000.
Mm-hmm.
And once that number had been reached, they had to tell people, sorry, you're max capacity.
Yeah.
So we know for a fact that they passed 26. That's, as far as I know, they don't know if there's more than 20.
Right.
But
yeah, well, they said that
26,000.
Yeah. Did you say the permit was 22,000?
22,000.
Okay, yeah. So, and it said something about there was definitely 26,000. But they said,
and that's just when they stopped.
There were still so many people
down that street, the avenue, the alley.
Yeah, there was just so many people. I think TYT said that it was well over 30,000 people.
Oh, I believe it.
Who were trying to get in.
I believe it.
I cannot like confirm that though.
No.
So that's pretty fucking dope though. Like the first thing he said when he came up was he made an apology to all the people who tried to come in but couldn't. So that was very nice. I appreciated that because I'm just like, I feel like Donald Trump doesn't do that. But we can't compare everything we do to Donald Trump.
It's all about him, about how they came to see him. How many people came? There were so many people that came to see him. They couldn't get in. They were outside. But it wasn't about him. And I think people were very excited to be there to hear the message. Trump was brought up. How do you not talk about, the fascists in the Oval Office? How do you not talk about that?
Right.
But it wasn't about him. It was about the people and what are we excited about? Why are we in the street right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the ideas that we want. And it was so about the ideas. There were many parts that were typical rally excitement. I don't know if it's because I'm ADD or what, but like the small talk, I'm always like, fast forward it. I don't care. Even if I love them, but the meat of, I'll listen to it over and over if it's a good message. And that happened multiple times while watching the rally. Multiple times.
Yeah. And I caught quite a bit of the pregame for the show. So I saw Nina Turner talk. I saw some other state senators come up and show their support.
Yes.
And I think they gave their endorsements, right? And of course, if you guys didn't hear for some reason, because you live under a smaller rock than I do, AOC came out and gave her endorsement to Bernie Sanders, and so did so did Ilhan Omar, and I believe Rashida Tlaib, right? Was that one
Yeah,
confirmed then?
yes, and I can't even tell you how happy. It was one after another, and then oh, look at this one, and then and that was as before the rally, as they were coming out. We were finding out that they were had been endorsed, because they had, for the 24 hours before, all these young progressive Justice Democrats decided to endorse Bernie Sanders. Before that, they were using at this point, I'll use quotes, at this point, if you vote for Bernie over Warren, you're just sexist narrative. I just, I'm like, wait, what? What's it? Sexist. I was so mad about that. And then here's this young progressive Latino woman. Here's a young progressive. I just loved it. I was like, no, it's not. It's so much more. It's about, like I said, it's a populist movement from the bottom up. And there's no way to deny that after this. There's just no way to say he doesn't have a chance. I mean, you'd have to be blind or really scared and don't want him to be the nominee. That could be it too.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of that goofy little puzzle, is that there's a lot of people who just don't want him to win, right? And we have a lot of corporate media over here in the States, so when those corporations are scared, they don't let it sound like a good thing, no matter what he does.
Or they just don't talk about him. They literally don't even mention he's not a part of the conversation. He's if he's mentioned, it's because they're mentioning all of the candidates, or they will mention the shit out of Bernie if they have anything that they can spin in a negative light. And this is the liberal media. They're terrible. They are terrible. They're terrible. They're terrified, is what I was trying to say, of someone who would want to break up monopolies. And 7 companies, 8 companies, 5 companies own all of the media in the entire country. That's something that he doesn't agree with. I don't agree with. I'm sure they do not agree with his message on that, being that they would be a conglomerate that would be broken up. At least it would be a policy that would be pushed, whether it passed or not. Now, if we got all 3 branches of government with a Bernie Sanders, there would be some shit change. But, not get ahead of ourselves. That would be awesome. That would be awesome, though.
Well, I do want to talk about some of the smears that they've been throwing out. So CNN called like the endorsements that Bernie got. They said that they're making his campaign too urban, which is strange, because the flip side of that is, well, it's too white, it's too whatever, it's too narrow.
I thought it was an Onion article. No. I was like, there's what? Yeah. Who says that?
Yeah.
What?
That's where we are. Hit him from everything. Yeah. That is where they are.
And I guess.
Because 4 years ago, it's like,
it will be the opposite of what they. It could be that something he does is so good for even a particular family that hates him at the top of one of these conglomerates. They would never give him the credit for it, because he's for us.
Right.
He's for us. That's scary to a minority that has ruled for a very long time. Very long time. So
I feel like these news websites, since they are so opinionated, they should give 5 pros and 5 cons of each Democratic nominee. I think that'd be great. And I think it's like the first thing they should do. Just be like, all right, show your biases, or show show some smeary shit or whatever, but also give some good facts about each one, because there's good things about just about every presidential candidate right now. Like you can point out a few good things.
Right.
We could even point out a few good things about Trump. I mean, it makes you want to barf a little bit, but also he signed the First Step Act, right? Back in December. The only thing I don't like about him signing that is that Obama should have signed that. So, excuse me. But he didn't. So I have to give Trump props where props are due. So, anyways, do you have anything else to add to the Bernie convo, or do you want to move on to the religion convo?
Next.
Next?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on then. So I thought tonight it would be fun for us to talk about religion in the context of, from a humanist perspective, atheist humanist perspective. How do we deal with religion? And we could talk about the different ways. I don't want to just say, all right, this is the one way that we do it. I probably will play devil's advocate a little more if you don't. Because I think you can come to different logical conclusions on how to deal with religion. You could be a militant atheist. You could be a porch atheist. You could be a humanist atheist. You could, there's different ways to do it. And I'm not going to really set in stone like each term that I just said there.
Right.
But I'm just going to try to fairly give like a rough overview and where we think these mindsets lead, and obviously give what we think is a good way to deal with religion. And I mean deal with religion in the context of how we deal with the people in our lives who practice religion. How do we deal with going to a wedding or a funeral or just being invited out to church? It's just like, do you say, well, yeah, I'd love to come to church, but or fuck no,
be honest,
fuck your sky daddy.
I think, yeah, and that's none of that is black and white either.
Right.
I definitely nuanced, and there's you want to know when to walk away and know when you pick your battles. And if they're family and you love them, it's totally different, because you don't want to damage that relationship to the point where you can't even talk. So, but these things, religion, are important things to talk about, so they must be talked about. So we have to find a way, I guess. That's why we're talking about it tonight.
That's right. And I think we all kind of come across this topic. I mean, especially if you're an atheist watching this, which a handful of our watchers are. I'd like. Oh yeah. We have one or two godless heathens here. So the example that I want to share for me right now is, I was recently asked by an old friend of my wife's that she used to work with if we'd like to hang out. And we were like, yeah, that'd be wonderful. She's like, cool, would you like to like come to our church? And it's just like, oh. And I always gauge it differently depending on the person. But this time I thought it was kind of worth sharing, because like I would just to be as honest as possible. Because I saw she was like super excited about it. I just said, well, I would love to do that because I love talking about religion. I think that's awesome. We don't really go to church. I'm more an atheist now. And she's like, oh, okay. Right. And I was like, yeah. So I honestly really wouldn't mind going, as long as you just wouldn't mind me not coming back.
Right.
And
or asking
and talking about it more later.
Or asking questions. I think that if you are anything like me and you're look back on something and think, but I did learn this thing, or that opened my mind up to this, and now I know this thing, if someone Sunday with your grandma, you have to draw the line. But if somebody says, well, you've never tried mine, or go with an open mind. And I think, and really listen. Don't listen as a Christian. I can only speak for myself. I would listen for that message for me, like, there is a message for me. That's like having the answer to your hypothesis before you do any studies. So I don't go different, go listening so that you can see how. I mean, when I listen to a sermon now, I think that's how they did that. God, that was so easy. You learn a lot, and then ask questions. Don't be disrespectful. Don't go in there with a chip on your shoulder or a bone to pick. These are not your people. They're actually your friends or your family people. Yeah. You went there because you care about that person. So, if you know that your answer is more of a gotcha kind of question, probably not the right place to do that. But a good question that is like an epistemology question, one that's going to, asking it for the purpose of when you leave that day, maybe others in the room that heard you ask it, think about that. That's important. Leaving that seed in a room full of people because you asked an important question that wasn't rude, that maybe the pastor is not, is going to give you a apologetics answer, but the way that we've learned to listen and the way that we've learned to ask questions, good questions, not on the outside, real inside questions down to the bottom. How do you know that's true kind of questions? I think that maybe even one or two people in the room might think, well, how do they know? Or whatever the question might be, and go home and look it up and find more than they bargained for, and then go to YouTube and start a channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazier things have been known to happen.
Right. So I guess kind of what I want to focus on a little bit and like build onto that is, when is it appropriate, excuse me, to kind of interrupt a service, or when is it appropriate to ask questions? What questions are appropriate to ask? And the answer is, well, why are you going? What is it to you? Right? You got to answer those questions for yourself. So are you trying to normalize atheism? And then what does that mean? Right? Does that mean, are you trying to exercise your right to be disruptive? And like when someone's like saying something that is obviously bullshit and you feel like some person up here is lying to the entire room, just filling these people's heads with bullshit. Right. Do you want to just speak out and be like, hey, all this is bullshit. Here's some counter arguments you guys have probably never heard before. So I'm glad I came today to share with you, because that is going to, alienate people and create enemies. Right. But also you might break through to someone, and maybe that's just worth it to you.
You could also get arrested. So
yeah, you could. Yeah, you
on what kind of church you do that in.
Yeah, especially down in Alabama, I think they have their own like Christian place. They're getting that around. Don't worry about it. So there's that. But obviously, that option is open to you. But again, you got to ask yourself, what are you trying to do? Because if you're trying to normalize atheism in the sense of you just want people to like recognize that atheists are like decent people and they're open-minded.
I think that for me, this is just, I was thinking about this the other night. I have like my little, like I thought too deep about something and came out with a theory on, then this is 2008, 2009, 2010. That was that atheism, sit into a Jehovah's Witness congregation and videotape yourself standing up and saying, I'm not here, blah, they're all over YouTube. And I'm what bravery. I couldn't even imagine after the hurt, that a lot of these particular people, in particular people who made these videos, went through. I can understand why they would want to go into a room and, yell, you guys lied and hurt me. And I understand why that's so important. But for me, that was that time, 2012, Christopher Hitchens and Dawkins,
Richard Dawkins.
2013. But I think that we also, at that same time, were getting a lot of alt-right and a lot of just hatred on just ignorance on both sides, not wanting to even hear the other person, tribalism. Right. And I think because of all that, in my mind, my theory, we're just at a different, the atheism that I would want to fight for really doesn't, I wouldn't walk into a room and if someone asked, I wouldn't say that that's what I was fighting for. That probably wouldn't even come up in the first sentence. It would be a more kinder world where I understand where you're coming from, and through education we can both at least try to find out the most facts about the world that we live in. So I just think that because of so much that we've gone through, I mean, we wake up every morning, I don't know about you, but the first thing I'm like, damage report, let's find out what's the damage report, so it's different now. I think that if you're wanting to you're wanting to start change for the better, doing those type of protests, even if maybe needed for you, probably won't have a lasting. That's just not where I think we are. I think that listening to someone, even if they have hateful things to say that are bigoted and nasty and ugly, but if you really want the change, you have to be the change. Listening to them and then saying, okay, I listened to you, I didn't interrupt, now it's your turn to listen to me. Mm-hmm. And at least trying would be a better than, saying the pastor's lying and let me tell you why. Which, if you do that, film it and you'll probably go viral because the world's a disturbing place.
Right. Well, so what if you're sitting there at a friend's service and you're trying to listen, and the pastor's going on about how the woman is supposed to be submissive to the man, right? And they go on that normal spiel of that's just how it is. You're supposed to be, in the church and in the household or whatever. And so we know more or less that kind of argument that happens in some of the churches. Yeah. So if you're expecting someone to listen to you afterwards, well, right now they have the floor, right? And these people hear this every week. Yeah. So what if I'm just like, this is bull, and I feel like I should say something?
Yeah, it would be hard.
Right.
I agree. It would be hard.
So is it, I mean, again, you need to try to determine it for yourself what you want to do, but do you want to talk to the pastor afterwards, or do you want to say something and ask a question during the service?
I think I would want to ask the question during the service in front of people, because alone he's not the person you're trying to help change. You're trying to help the people he's misleading. So. Right.
But at the same time, he's telling you to shut up before you even ask the question, Christy. Oh, yeah. So you're kind of stepping out of the line.
Women aren't allowed to do that, for sure. I mean, I can only speak for myself. If I was sitting in any service, if I was sitting anywhere at any time and I heard anyone say some dumb shit like that, I would probably giggle out loud without even thinking I offended anyone. I would probably be like, who the fuck? What? Who's saying silly stuff? What? Make you a sandwich? What? Yeah, because that's not normal behavior. And if you're in a service, a church that is normal behavior, you're not watching LEAH. I guarantee it. I guarantee that. That's just I'm not saying that people that are in services that teach such hatred don't need humanists' help. They need it the most. They need it more than anyone. But I don't know
fundamentalists how they get the more they need.
Yeah, humanism. I don't know anyone that goes to a church like that personally, and how I would definitely I would talk to anyone. I would be kind to anyone who's kind, because it's the world that I think we should strive for.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and I agree. Especially from a humanistic worldview, we should definitely call that kind of thing out. And
well, I can
but like
think of something contemporary that has to do with like being surrounded in a world of religion. This growing my hair out silver. Every woman who is also doing the same thing and are at different stages, I love watching their growth each week. You know, I love it's so pretty, and then I'm like, wow, it's just really cool to see how pretty she looks, and I'm sure she never thought that would happen, and it's just a really cool thing, and I love to be a part of it. But almost all of them are uber religious, like saved by the blood, and prayers or this. I mean, all it's I don't want to follow back because I don't want to see it. I don't want prayers every single morning. And I don't hide who I am at all on any of my pictures, but I also have changed a lot over the last 2 years, and things that I would have posted just 2 years ago, anti-religious, I would think now, would this help more or hurt more?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it would hurt more, then I'm not doing the humanist thing. And that's really tough. But that's something that I've had to do, because I also don't want to, maybe if one of these women who are super religious and gorgeous and going through their transition for whatever reasons, I love being a part of it. It would be cool if maybe they did listen to LEAH and did think, oh, wow, I never thought of it like that. So I do think now, and I don't post things that, I mean, there's certain things where I'm like, oh, this, yes, but I know it would do more hurt because of religion and other people's beliefs in it. I'm altering an action that would be very me as to not hurt more people. And I think that humanism gave me. Religion never gave that to me. Never gave that to me.
Yeah. Right. And we also promote critical thinking skills.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. So I guess, and I feel like you and I have the same opinion on the initial should we go, and I think that's I mean, if you like the person who's asking you, maybe it's a good idea to go. Yes, absolutely, because that can build a bridge that can show that you are not shut off completely to what they have. But also, you do have to draw lines sometimes, because if you already know what they believe and you know it's utter bullshit and there's no talking to them, well, then don't even try to enter the conversation if you know you're not going to get anywhere with them. Right. If you think you can have a fruitful conversation with them, if going to their church and then talking about it afterwards is a good gateway, take that gateway. That's amazing. Even if you don't break through, or even if you just chip away, or even if you don't, but you get a decent conversation. That's fine.
I would say for me, I had that happen. Everyone knows I lost my best friend of so many years to Jehovah's Witnesses, but I was asked by her, just come, and I was trying to get her to see facts, and she was, getting scared and asked me many times, will you just come? And I was like, absolutely not. But I already knew what it was. I would have handled it. You guys both know. Both, not trying to, both know I would have handled it way differently. However, I still think that I still know that I would have said no to her offer to Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's not a friend asking me to come check out something that I don't know about. I've never seen, I've never seen this utilitarian, or how I probably said that so wrong. Utopian? The churches where, it's not really they say it's spiritual, but the Bible's not literal. Okay. Utilitarian churches. I think I said it right. I think so. Yeah. I've never gone to one. I would definitely go check it out. I've never gone to one. I've never gone to Jehovah, to the Kingdom Hall either, but I also know how much damage it has done. And I knowing that it's just a lie from the top to the bottom, I know these facts. So my answer would still be no, even now, having more empathy and choosing, to try something out to build that bridge, like you said. Then when you get home, you can say, now listen to what I have to say, because you just spent the whole morning with them, and it does, or the next time you talk. But Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't have been that way.
Yeah, and again, you got to really gauge who you're talking to, right? Whether it's a family member or a friend. You have to gauge, well, how important is the person? How far am I going to get in a conversation if I do try to give a little? It's important to ask yourself more questions when you're being asked these questions, is what I'm getting at. And it's kind of obvious, but again, it's kind of important to talk about if you are an atheist, and you will come across these transactions, right? So, again, obviously, I think being invited to church is something you should probably do every now and then. Not only just for the conversation and the pushing the atheist agenda onto someone, but just to work on your own critical thinking skills and do something different. And like Christy said, just be open and go and listen. And to me, when I listen, and one of the reasons why I don't interrupt is because I try to think of it in an empathetic way. It's just, what do these words mean to these people, right? How are they helping them? Because they only feel the positive coming from it. And there is positive that comes from religion, even though, again, I am an atheist, and I do believe that religion is a net negative. Yeah. That doesn't mean there is no positive to it. I just don't think it's worth the positive.
Well, if you said no, and that is your right, but if every atheist said no to every time they're invited, then how will religious people know any atheists?
Right. So, and also then it's just we just become that straw man that they paint us as anyways. Right. These closed off, scared of God, non-religious people. Mm-hmm. Or,
and be a truth seeker.
Religious suppressive people.
Tell them maybe you do have the truth. Maybe you do. And because that's how I found that I am an atheist, is because I just wanted to find out what was factual, what I could, demonstrate to myself through the mass of man's knowledge and education. What can we prove so that I can be correct in how I spend my life? Do I worry my whole living existence about being good enough to something that may or may not happen? Maybe I should find out if that we know that. So that, there's so many important things. So as a truth seeker, keep being a truth seeker, and use the I don't really think it's a line. It's true. If you have the truth or where you're going, I would want to know that. So yeah, I'll go. Well, maybe you do. And then when they don't, make sure that you're willing, if it's a friend that you'd like to help them not go that way too. I think that it's important to learn how to have those conversations, which are really hard. Yeah. I'm not going to give anyone advice because I still suck at them. Yes.
Well, I think the best advice is practice.
Yes.
Talking about it. I mean, because a lot of people here in this YouTube atheist, skeptic community, we want to normalize atheism. That's one of the first things you want to do when you become an atheist, is normalize it so you can fucking talk about it, right? You want to be able to talk about it. And the only way you can talk about it is practice talking about it. Show people that you are willing to actually have a back and forth. And I'm finding more and more and more, even here in the Bible Belt in Ohio where I'm at, the more I talk about it, the easier it is. And I've had very little, very, very, very little negative feedback even with me saying sometimes I'm an atheist, or I don't really believe in anything like that because I'm not religious. However, I need to say it to that person, usually accept it. I've even had 2 or 3 Jehovah's Witnesses, like they get where I'm coming from. They've had a little bit of back and forth with me, and they still talk to me, treat me like a person all the time, and it's really nice.
Yes.
And, yeah,
Yes,
like,
we have the same thing.
yeah.
Like our regulars that walk through.
Mhm.
I live in Florida. It's hot, and it's not just hot. It's like wet. It's hard to describe unless you've been here. I mean, people
Is
have
it wet and
described
hot?
getting off an airplane in Florida when they've been, anywhere that's not tropical and being like, oh, it's hard to breathe. The air's wet. Well, it's so hot out there. So Mormons, they have to wear the tie. Even though they wear the short sleeves, they're not wearing, swimming trunks and a tank top. It's hot. And same with
That's a
the Jehovah's
negative.
Witnesses. They always say hi. How are you guys doing? Not only have I on multiple occasions been, is it okay if I get a glass of water again? Because always, do you need a glass of water?
Mm-hmm.
We see them all the time, but they know that Stacey and I are both, well, first of all, that we are together,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're an atheist. I mean, it's right there on my arm. I've explained, the LEAH, they should check it out. It would
That's
be
awesome.
cool if we had like business cards, because I could be like,
I know, I keep wanting to make those.
But I don't explain. I just say LEAH podcast. And when I say what LEAH stands for is normally when I, you get that, oh. Yeah.
Oh.
I've had different, reactions.
Yeah.
Most of them have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or oh, you're an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have never thought.
I never thought.
Or
you seem like such a good person.
So you don't believe that like Jesus is real? I'm like, oh no. Or any other ones. And when they hear that or any other ones, you can see, kind of like, oh God, there are other ones. I wasn't even thinking. That's how small mind, in the South, the religion is. Yeah. Jesus. Well, who else? Who else? Jesus.
I remember one time specifically. I can't remember who told me like they were an atheist, and I was like, okay, so like you don't believe in God, right? And like, right, because I was trying to wrap my head around it, but in the back of my mind, like I have a question, like, but you believe in Satan, right? Because like if you believe in Satan, you gotta believe in God, right? It doesn't make sense. It can only half the story be true. What do you mean no? Okay, so you just don't know anything then, do you? I thought you only knew half of anything, and now you don't know anything. Yeah. And it's funny as fuck to look back on it and be like, but they believe in Satan. I'm going to show them they're stupid.
A lot of it's really funny now. Back on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's funny in just like a cringy way. That's my favorite kind of funny.
Very cringy.
Yeah.
Very cringy.
So
it's like the more ignorant a human is on a specific topic, the more arrogant. Not even topic, just the more ignorant they are about many things, more arrogant they get about not knowing. It's a human thing, it's not this type or this type. It's just human thing when we don't like not knowing. We don't like that. Yeah. We like to anticipate because of past things that have happened that the future things will happen similarly because we're pattern seekers. Yeah. It's religion, capital R, religion is very easy. Now talking about looking back and seeing things so differently. Religion is fed to you. And as a human, I'm sure all of us, when we're kids, we have so many questions. And when religion is fed to a young mind, it shuts all of that up. I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
You know, how does this happen in the stars? And what do you mean we're spinning through space? And, you know, God did it. Well, that's done. You need to obey. All the kids' books, if any of you guys still have, or you know, remember as children, the religious books, they looked a lot same size as the Dr. Seuss books, you know, similar size kids' books, and it was almost like reading through 50s Russian propaganda, you know, like the teacher's name would be Mr. like, I can't even remember, you know, Mr. Right Word. His words were always right. And parents told you to do this and you disobeyed. And this is why we should always obey. And the Lord gives us this. And we should always think, you know, we were just spoon fed these answers that kind of covered up all of the questioning that we had. And I know that happened to me, because when I realized that didn't answer anything, all of a sudden I was just so many questions. Yeah. And I do think that if we as a civilization decided to do things a better way and teach kids, I'm not about banning religion or taking them. I think all kids should be taught all of them as literature, as factual as we can, about what people believe about it, what we know about it, all of them, from young age, as many languages as they want. I think more education would be the answer to that. I don't think banning or anything. I'm not okay with any of that. However, I think that if we could choose to be in a better world, a more egalitarian world in the future, and have religion in it, I would be okay with that if it was taught equally to every child. That's all the religions. I
mean, I think because teaching religion in school is definitely a hot button topic, right?
Oh yeah.
I think maybe in high school,
yeah.
the earliest.
Yes, after puberty, for sure. There's murder and genocide and rape and definitely high school literature, for sure.
Yeah, but I think it should be more of an elective kind of thing. I think it should be something extra that you can take, but you
the Abrahamic religions, the Eastern religion, you know, as a class.
Right. And I think we should teach like a brief overview. I mean, religion is part of human history. I think.
Yes, it is.
I think it should be broadly, generally, talked about a little bit in history class, social studies, probably in government, because that's why we do the show. Policies
humanities
and religion.
Humanities. You know, why not have a humanities in high school? I don't think that's too young.
But we should definitely teach. Again, I think we should teach. Critical thinking. We should teach maybe philosophy in high school. I feel like that shouldn't be an elective. I feel like you have to do that before you go to college.
I agree with that.
And part of that should be religion. When I went through just the crash course PBS videos for philosophy, like I think I did that twice at least.
It was fun.
6 out of 45 or so episodes are all about religion, because it makes up so much of what you think about.
Yeah.
It's important. It really is important, but you need to teach it in, like Christy said, a fair way. And a fair way is an objective way outside of the religion bubble, but looking at...
Think about what you learned from that series, and think about the age that particular series is geared for, you know, 15, 16, 17, right in there, maybe even some 14-year-olds. So I think that because how you found it so entertaining and so full of information that you watched it twice. I'm sure I watched it more than twice. I would put it on and listen to it because I would want to, like, oh, I remember being taught little bits and pieces, as I'm sure you did while listening to it. I remember when we learned that mythology, when we learned a little bit about Greek, mythology. It was just a blip in education.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, if I would have been taught, because that blip was interesting. I paid attention during that time. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
But if I were to be able, to have access to that amount of information about what we knew about mythologies instead of this much, because this fit in perfect with the narrative that needs to be shared amongst the population. I don't, all countries do it. It's just something that is done. I think that it's awful. And that series in particular, being taught to children at the age that we were just talking, lets them see that we have all these myths from all of these beautiful, types of people. This group of people that were native to this land believed in this creation story, and these native peoples, and then this religion brought some of that with them, and it just tells the human tale. And I think at that point, that's what I got from that series as an adult. And I'm sure as a kid in me, it would have just made it so much easier to have been an adult before I was, because it's just
thinking like an
different.
adult.
I had to be an adult very young. I was a mom very young. So having the knowledge that just all of that, just that series, the knowledge that was in that series, having that at an appropriate age. At age 14, I would have been able to handle it wonderfully, and I would have been like, wait a minute, I'm doing life so different. Let's do this. I just thought that things happened because there was a plan for me, and all blah, 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 instead of going, no, I don't like this, I'm doing this because I want this. Things are just different when you realize that if we don't fix things, they're not going to fix. It's us. We have to be our own superheroes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah.
I wanted to build to that, and then I started to lose it. I'm sorry.
Take notes.
Yeah, I should take notes.
It helps.
And I do sometimes, but if I'm taking notes, then I'm not listening to you, and then I can't respond. So it's kind of a catch-22, honestly.
Can you pat your head and rub your tummy?
Yes, I can. I have to start one and then do the other. I can't start them at the same time. All right. So my question to everything you just said is, how do we get there? Right? How do we get to helping society look at things in that way, or accept things being taught in a certain way? And I think, honestly, dealing with religion, we need to set a good example. And this is where it starts to just sound preachy. This is where it sounds like atheism is a religion. It's just no, it's not a religion. It's just if you want anyone, this is marketing, okay? Marketing 101. Pay
attention, class.
Right? Is if you're selling a service, what are you pitching to someone? Mm-hmm. Yourself. You are pitching yourself. You're selling yourself. Ooh la la. So what you need to do is you need to act like something desirable. You have to act like something someone likes. You need to pour out some charisma. You at least need to not be an asshole. Right? Because most people don't like assholes. And if they do, it's usually for the wrong reason, or not a long-lasting relationship building reason, right? And that's what you're trying to do if you're trying to normalize atheism, if you're trying to normalize secularism, and if you want to apply secularism to politics, religion, any of that stuff, you need to sell yourself as a normal, functioning, decent human being. And that means you need to give a shit.
Right.
That means a lot of us need to kind of drop that. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of religion. I'm tired of dealing with religious people because they annoy the fuck out of me. Even though they do, you still need to sell yourself if you want them to understand you and accept you and understand why they should leave you alone. Not just leave you alone, but accept you and leave you alone, right? Like we kind of do to most other religions, except maybe the fundamentalists for a lot of us. Like we want to target the really shitty ones, right?
Right.
But there's some other ones that are, can be put on the back burner, or we can just live and let live, depending on what your goal is, right? Some anti-theists may want to be like, well, I want to wipe them all out, like
well, that's why democracy is very important, because
yeah, it is.
They'll bit cray.
Right. When you're talking about any kind of societal construct, you need to go about it in a palatable way. Again, if it's education, if it's politics, if it's religion, you need to go about it in a palatable way so people listen to you. If no one's listening to you, then don't bother shouting. And if you're not going to bother shouting, well, then no one's going to listen to you. Right. Especially when you say, leave me alone. Because if you're not used to using your voice, they're not going to listen to you again. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I brought the whole point home. But it really all blends together.
Yes. All of them, you would even say, leave me alone. Like that's particular.
Yeah.
That's a specific type of person. When you're like, okay, you have to leave me alone.
Yeah.
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 Different. Yeah. And I think when you said, how do we get there? And I know that we're talking about religion, but honestly, money out of politics is going to be the only way that we can get there. Because if we get money out of politics, we can, there's so much that's going on in education with charter schools. And public schools not getting the money because charter schools are getting them, because there's this whole sleazy snake way. That's a whole other show. We can do charter schools as a whole show topic if you want to sometime. It will sicken you.
I went to a charter school.
But money out of politics is the only way that we could help guide ourselves as a people into a better, a loving, a more egalitarian system, a system where everyone, even if your ideas are provably wrong, doesn't get hurt, and a person whose ideas are provably correct doesn't get hurt. Everybody gets to talk, and I think everybody should get education. And those two people as adults who are disagreeing, and one has facts that are provable and one doesn't, wouldn't exist anymore, because as a people we will have chosen that every kid deserves all of the education, not just what we deem helps the child see things a certain way. I don't agree with that at all. I think that they should get, if you're giving them a book that talks about how A is a good idea, then we need to give them books that say the A isn't a good idea, and here's why, if that exists.
Yeah.
If there's a book that says capitalism is wonderful, and there are books that criticize that particular idea of capitalism, those children reading it should be able to read all those books. We're getting there now. Children are we have access. They can say, wait, and just ask, and find out. So we are getting there, but we also have a lot of propaganda, because with money in politics, I mean, if you're paying attention to anything, you just heard this week that Facebook said, no, we're not going to tell liars they don't get to post and pay us. They can lie about anything. We don't care. As long as they pay us, we're down to clown.
Right. They're not pushing back against false advertising.
Nope, don't care. Money is money. They are not left. They are not right. They're green. It's
freedom of speech, man.
They're green. All they care about is green.
Even con artists.
Yeah, and he is a creepy, creepy con artist. It might just be that I, read a lot of books and not just smart books. I like thrillers. I like, fiction as well. But I think that his closet, plural, might need more closets. I don't know. There's something just so creepy about him. I feel like he's a bad guy. He's a bad person. And I don't know how to describe that. Yes, I do. If a corporation, which is not a human, was personified, it would be Zuckerberg. He is what a corporation. If it was a people, if it was a person, people. If it was a whole people, if it was a person, yes, it's his bottom line.
Yeah.
Whatever helps him.
And to build on to that, even is if you want to try to figure out how to run a government in a decent way, look at a corporation. Look at Facebook. Look at how they value free speech. Look at how they deal with advertising. Look at a different corporation like GM. Look at how they pay their employees. Look at how healthcare is dealt with. Look at libertarianism. And look at
read.
read
ideas.
Look at what the free market does if it's not regulated. But then look at the flip side when you start to get on the Jack Kirby side of Twitter, where they need to start cracking down on because we need rules, but how do we implement rules? How are they fair for everyone? It's good to do a little critical thinking and think about how you would run Facebook, how you would run GM, how you would run a corporation, and what checks and balances you need to put in line. Corporations are small governments. Schools are small governments. Little dictatorship. So
tiny little democracies.
Depending on which one you're talking.
The school board, local government. Yeah. Local government is very important, you guys. Very important. That has anything to do with religion, but
we should dive into it at some point. Yeah.
And just to piggyback off of that last sentence, when you're learning, you're saying learn about this idea, learn about that. Yes, learn about all of them. And then when you get done learning about a topic or an idea, look up counter, whatever it is. I learned I was wrong about so many things by looking up the counter arguments to things that I was like, I read it, I was like, that was but before telling anybody, I've learned, instead of hurrying up and going on and saying, you must check this out, now I go and dive into what are the counter arguments to this idea, so that I can form, so I have all the information. And then maybe I won't say, hey, go check out that book. I'll say, if you read this, make sure you read these two. It helped me understand what the idea was about, because you're getting an honest criticism from people who don't like it. They really don't like it. They're going to try to find all of the things. And then you're reading also from people who really like it and reading all of their criticism, which even if they have tiny little bits, you get some information, but you're reading the things that they like about it. And you're going to get an honest reading of what they like about it because they want to sell you this idea that they believe in. So I really think that you should dive into the counter of everything. I know that's like a lot of work, but I never said it was not going to be a lot of work. That's how I learned religion was wrong.
Yeah.
I never looked into anything that countered my beliefs. Ever. I mean, I would feel like
important to do and
wrong for doing that.
If we don't teach kids how to do that at a young age, then they'll never use it going forward. Something else I wanted to piggyback on Christy's point is she said, well, we're not going to get any of these changes unless we get money out of politics. And she's completely right. But how do we get money out of politics? these things have to go hand in hand. We need to build a coalition, and we need to learn how to work together in a secular way and a non racist
Partisan
way and a non-partisan way. And we need to work together in a humanistic way, caring about the environment, and just try to move forward as a society to get these changes implemented and get money out of politics so we can move forward. It's all hand in hand. We can't talk about religion without talking about politics usually, especially not us two. We're the
we made it pretty far, but if you ask a question like, how do we realistically, how would we change things for the better? There's no other way but policy. The word politics has a negative connotation. Nobody likes politicians, but I think we need to change that narrative. I'm a policy junkie. I would wear a shirt that said policy junkie. I think that policies is where it's at. And if you don't think that policies are dope, then you don't know what's going on, because that's what rules your life. That policies are what make up the things that you can and can't do every day in your life. Things are important. So yes, I'm a policy junkie.
Fuck policies. Burn it out of the ground. Anarchy. Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I still, you hear the word politician, and I don't even want to use the word politician because people they literally will turn off.
Yeah.
Politician, they lie to you. They say one thing, they do another. They're not lying, but that
I always disagree with people when they start a conversation. I'm like, yep, no, I agree. Yes, I agree.
That's the problem.
And the Democrats suck. Just like, you give them as much as you can.
But check out Justice Democrats, though.
Yeah,
what about those Justice Democrats, though?
Yeah. See, that's why I'm a Bernie Sanders fan. Did you know he's an independent?
Yes, that's right.
Just hit them from the left. It's there's different ways to go about it when dealing with political conversations, when dealing with religious conversations. But I feel like a lot of it comes down to marketing. Again, marketing yourself, being open to conversations. Again, marketing, and
equipped yourself with the knowledge to have the conversations.
Yeah, I'm learning the more I go through, my going through life with my newfound ideologies. Freedoms is just being honest and trying to be sensitive at the same time. People just tend to open up to you about it, and a lot of times I have people come back and they just ask me questions because they know that I'm interested in these kind of conversations, and it's really nice, even if they only want to exchange three sentences about it, because again, it's marketing. It's just like, well, they know Mac likes to talk about that stuff. I've had a couple people be like, hey, you two should talk, because I'm like, that's cool. Also, I'm at work right now. I don't have time for it, but still, it's wonderful.
That's awesome, dude.
It is. It's great. It's great. I really do love it. And I just I encourage our listeners and our fellow YouTubers to do that more in your life. Open up a little bit, but be as giving as you possibly can. Like, give as much as the conversation as you can to someone, so people see the common ground, so they feel like they can relate to you. Give up as much as the fight as you can, and then be like, they feel like you're rational. Doesn't matter if you are or not. If they don't feel like you are, well, then they won't take you seriously. They won't listen to you. You're not approachable. You're not palatable. So give as much as you can. Go to church sometimes, and then talk about how much bullshit it was.
Don't go to cults.
Yeah.
That's a firm no every time.
Yeah.
And don't let your children go to
No. Yeah, I
if
mean,
they
yeah.
know that they're,
If you know it's a
we're
cult,
not
yeah.
accountable to children being abused or just.
No, absolutely not. No, I'm not necessarily advocating for just going to church.
Right.
Again, I am an anti-theist. I think it's all shit. But I do like community building, and I do like
Me too.
people coming together and working together in a humanistic fashion.
I
So
like you probably know about it then, the ask an atheist to church day or bring an atheist to church day.
yes,
It's
I
so
want to do it.
fascinating, and I love that churches are doing that.
Yeah,
Because most the reason why Hammett said that he did it was that there so many Christians had never or didn't at that point in their life know one atheist. So
right.
you
They probably
can't,
live with two of them.
yeah, you don't feel bad if they don't have representation or if they're persecuted if you don't even know of any. Like, do they even exist? Aren't they devil worshippers? Because that's the narrative. Don't they eat babies?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, obviously. Who doesn't?
Yes. Yeah. Right.
There's a list.
Right. Anyways, I don't know if I have much more to say on that. I feel like I had a couple points, but I feel like most of it has been taken care of. I think that those ideas can just be applied across the board to whether you're going to a funeral or a wedding or a church or whatever. Just, be respectful when you're there and when someone wants to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And like I said to that one friend of ours, I made it very clear, and I was very, very as kind as I could possibly be and upfront about it. It's just like, no, I would absolutely love to, as long as you're not offended.
Right.
If I never want to go back there.
Right. Good for you.
But I would love to talk about it. After.
Right. And what if you go and have fun? Like, I had a good time. I didn't get any weirdos. I didn't have any message of, they didn't actually talk about magical thinking. We talked about community. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Try it out. Maybe they do have the truth of the light, but you got to go find out. As long as it's not a cult.
Right. And then they can't say, well, you've never tried mine.
Right.
There's little bonuses you get with it, but don't make that the main point you're going, because again, if I think you should listen to Christy and go with an open mind and really listen. So, and if you're just going to out of spite,
how to talk to, you might not even realize that you're learning because you're in there listening to a pastor talk. It might be, pastors talk to each other and they all, do a lot of sermons like, we're talking about this week because there's Bible studies, there's different chapters of churches. So you might just put a ripple out there by talking. There's an atheist that comes to our church. What do you mean an atheist comes to your church? He's a friend of mine. We have a good time. He loves and sings the songs,
he's got
we have the coffee, we have the talks, and then he goes home, and then they think, wow, well, I wonder if I know any atheists. I mean, just opening people's minds. You could be that drop, that pebble that pulls in the water.
Yeah, because and I know I've said this in other episodes, shows, whatever. I think everyone's voice is important. Right? If you're a porch atheist, be a porch atheist. Don't try to be something you're not. If you're an anti-theist, be an anti-theist. If you're R and Ra, be fucking R and Ra. We need you.
There's only one of him, and
right.
Yeah, he's.
But do that. Be who you are. But the kind of thing that Christy and I are trying to do and be is we're talking more about being that person of contact that, we're trying to normalize atheism and not just spike you down. God damn, we got good arguments, guys, because we can do that. We do. There's a lot of people who do that, but also you can reach a lot of people just by being that guy that people like. They know that's the community atheist, and it's so strange he's not an awful person.
Yeah, we're regular people. Right. We're like Seth Andrews. I sent you Seth Andrews earlier. Watching old Seth Andrews, I'm just like, yes, I remember listening to that the first time and how it changed so much. But I've also grown so much since then. Like I was saying, atheism, I had that whole theory in my head. We're just at a different spot now. It's from the bottom up, you know, be out there in the community, being maybe every one of our neighbors know that we are not afraid to tell people here because it sparks conversation. Yeah, and it's important. It is important, but we do need like Seth. We need him. He's the thinking atheist. You know, he's a legend, but he's from the top down. That's how people like me, you know, started listening to the Thinking Atheist every week. Like, what is this about? Which I haven't done in a long time because so much has changed. And I think that I've just went more humanism. For me, it just was natural. It was just more important, more needed on the ground, at the grocery store, if you go to the library, like literally, that's what I'm talking about. We're on the ground. We're the people from the bottom up. It's the tiny things. Normalize atheism. I think that would be the biggest. Just make it a normal. Everyone knows an atheist. Just as if you talk to anyone in the UK or in Scandinavia, to be Christian or to be religious is the oddball. You know, it's like, you go to church every Sunday? What do you mean? Who does that?
That's weird.
Yeah, who does that?
Have you ever tried will you not go to church with me on Sunday?
You believe in Santa too? Like, you know, they just
be that way, Christy.
It's just different. It's just different.
Santa Claus.
It's time for us to choose to be a better type of, you know, we know better. If we want to go by the data's in, if you want to see new data, take that in and change your mind because you want to be honest about things. Like, that's the way you want to live. And I think that you should use that critically across the board on everything. So when new data comes in, you have to adjust your beliefs and adjust them sometimes harshly because the new evidence is the opposite of what you believed. And to be honest about that and let it go, I think that that's the kind of people I want to help. I want humanism to help happen.
Oh yeah. I got you.
Yeah, money out of politics and critical thinking.
Yeah.
And scotch on a Friday night.
Yeah, and I got Sunny D and some coconut rum, and it's so good.
Getting your vitamins and your buzz on
right before bed.
Yeah. So, who says two people can't talk about religion and drink?
No one.
Hogwash.
It's hogwash. I'm not drinking hogwash, by the way. That'd be disgusting.
Ew.
Another
you should
thing
wash your hogs, though. Be a responsible hog owner. I advocate for clean hogs, unless they're wild. If they're wild, leave them alone. They
Christy,
will eat you.
Christy, wash your hogs. All right. The only other thing I wanted to point out, because I thought it was a good thing to also point out, no matter where you fall on the atheist or skeptic or secular spectrum of things, or even religious spectrum of things, is find your resolve. Find where you're going to give and where you're not going to give anymore. Right. You need to know that going in, and you need to not really let people cross the line if you're going to have these conversations, because I'm kind of saying this for the atheists who will watch this and be like, oh, these guys are crazy, they're just going to get pushed around. Because that happens, right? You let yourself become a porch atheist and you just get pushed around and everyone thinks you're just, atheists are dumb. You're normalizing atheism in a stupid way. But no, if you can let people talk, you can give them so much rope, right? But eventually they'll hang themselves.
Yeah, but I think that what did we hear like in 2012? Most you would hear from anyone was atheists are assholes. Right. And even though it was funny, the points they were making, I was like, oh damn, that was good. It was dickish.
Yeah.
It was needed because it shook a lot of people out of the just complacency. But I feel like we've moved past that, or I have moved past that. I think that in order to help be the change that I want to see, you can call me I'm too nice, or a porch, or you can call me whatever you want. I really don't care. Put a hashtag in front of it. Like, make it for real. And then I think that we should do it by humanizing the people that if we're trying to make a better world, then we want it full of people who are kind and want to understand.
And walks of life.
Right. The people that exist now all have these crazy beliefs everywhere. If we start doing it the right way, being kind, and education, maybe in 2 generations, we might even be able to live to see things start changing in that more egalitarian way if we're kind about it. You know, those gotcha points videos are amazing. That 4-hour video, The Best of Matt Dillahunty, still one of my favorites. But I just don't need to watch it all the time anymore.
No. But you do learn something from it in the meantime, whether you believe it or not, or whether you don't believe it or not. So I wanted to step back again real quick and just kind of tell everyone my thought on this, because I do want to help atheists have more constructive conversations. So I want to tell you what my resolve is, where my line is. And I think I summed it up in a good way. I took a mental note, Christy, and I still think I listened to you. If not, I forgot that I forgot it. So she's laughing at me. It's great. The way that I want to say it is, my line is, I will let you talk. I will not let you talk over me. And I think that's a good line. I think that's something, because I like to give people an argument or a point or something to take home with you every week. If I can, if I think of one, if I remember to give you something, it's that. I will let you talk. I will not let you talk over me. Take that into any religious or political conversation you have with a friend or with your family, or when you're telling your family that you're an atheist or you're a socialist now or an anarchist or whatever. Just let them talk, but don't let them talk over you. Don't let them just shut you down. Just know where to stand your ground and be empathetic. Have that in your head and take it with you. So that's my closing thought.
I like your closing thoughts. It's important. Yeah, it's important to listen to them. And you got to also remember that your mind now has all of this new information that you've learned how to, make sure that it's been peer reviewed, and make sure that it's you've checked your sources, and you're coming from a spot of knowing that you understand these facts. They don't have any of that. So you're at an unfair advantage of being more educated than they are on a topic. And that's not a bad or good thing. It has nothing to do with good or bad or morals. What is immoral is that we're not taught all of those things. So the best thing, I think, for a humanist to do would go, I really care about this person, whether it's a family member or friend, or if it's just a stranger. I care to maybe help them understand what I know, or at least if they're interested after you don't want to come on and be really, really strong if you're just meeting somebody. If it's a family member or a friend and they already know you're an atheist and all of that, let me show you how, what made me have these questions. Read this material. It made me have these questions. And then I checked them this way. And I found that when people see it that way, many are like, oh, wow, I never thought of it. It's just little things, I never thought of it like that. And that having that skeptical that skeptical part of your brain open up, and you can see it in their face. I never even thought of it like that. That's so awesome. That's
Yes.
hope for everyone if that happens. So
Yeah. And if someone says it out loud, that's extra awesome.
yes.
If someone will like admit an insecurity, even a super small one, like, oh, I never thought of it like that.
Or getting things wrong.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
that means someone's
wrong.
open to talk, or they trust you in a conversation. And that's great. That's wonderful. So take that tiny victory.
Yeah.
Even
And
when they tell you to shut up afterwards.
Don't do that. Not only are you coming in with way more knowledge than they know and understanding than them, you also I think it's huge. You've got to understand that if they are an adult, they've spent their entire adult life with this belief being true, and so everything in their life points to this because that's how religion works. So you're coming at them with not just more knowledge, but you've let go, the indoctrination isn't there anymore either. So I think humanist way is the best way. I have to say that
favorite.
Out of 10 people, there are probably 1 or 2 that will change their mind if they're yelled at and told that they're wrong and with shoved evidence in their face. There are probably a couple that will go, God damn it, and they'll take it. But the rest aren't going to take it if you're yelling at them and showing them facts. It doesn't work that way. So
yeah,
that's mine. Just I guess. Be kind. Be kind and rewind.
Be kind. Be empathetic.
Yes, be empathetic.
Those conversations are hard for everyone because
they are.
all someone from a political standpoint wants in a conversation like that is for you to believe them and you be saved and go to heaven. All that. You what they want. So again, be a little empathetic to that, but also again, just be clear. Be clear that you don't think that way, and I would love to know why you think that way. I would love to know how you think. You don't even have to say why you think, because that can be degrading depending on who you're talking to. But you can just say, I would love to know what you believe. Because even if I don't agree with it, I love talking about religion. I think it's so interesting. That's just how I say it, and that's just true. It's just the honest way I want to say it because it's true. I love knowing how people look at religion because I grow from that. I grow by understanding another person that I care about or have to interact with.
Yes.
And I grow by learning new arguments to new information, So I think there's not a lot, depending on how you interact with a person, depending on how you let the conversation flow and who steps over who and how balanced it is. It's a net positive. If you don't know how to navigate in these conversations, it can be a net negative. Yes. But if you practice, you can, again, make it a net positive. Right. So anyways, that is my thoughts.
Yeah, I do want to add, if it's with a family member, somebody that you love, a friend, a friendship that you cherish, that you don't want to lose, it's okay when you're having these conversations about religion, about politics, the tough ones, to say at any time, I think we've reached a spot in this particular conversation on this topic that I want to take a break and come back to it another time, just because I love you so much. I have a lot to think about, and I don't want to, have any negatives. I don't have negative feelings right now yet. But I feel like if you kept going, we might, and I love you too much. Let's stop right here. We can even take notes so we can pick it up right where we left off, because this is important. But let's come back to it after I go home and breathe, do more research, whatever it might be. It's okay to take a break. If it's a family member, they're going to be there for you. Tell them I'd rather do this the right way, and I'd rather be right. Who doesn't want to be wrong? Who wants to be wrong? Nobody wants to be wrong. So you want to make sure that you're coming at somebody who everything that they think is true is wrong. You want to make sure that you do it right and not hurt them, lose them, or try to indoctrinate them into a different belief, because that's not it.
Right. Again, be palatable.
Yes.
Be open enough for them to respond to. All right. I think that's it for our show tonight. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Have we covered all our bases?
We have.
The bases are loaded. We're going in for a home run.
We sure are.
And
hey, better.
Cheers, Christy. That was a wonderful conversation.
Woo.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight.
It makes me make the weirdest faces because it's gross. Anybody that says alcohol is good, they're liars. I don't believe any of y'all. The whole world.
Alcohol is so good. I like alcohol.
It's not the worst. It is a really good one. So it is. It's single malt scotch, but it's still not. I don't take a sip and go, God, I can't wait to have another one. Ever.
You're not drinking the right stuff, Christy. Didn't I have
it's gone. So
didn't I have 10 shots of coconut rum while I was at your house?
I think so. Yeah. It was good.
I couldn't wait for another one, and Stacy didn't let me wait for another one, so that was really nice.
She never did. She never
even
did.
when I thought I didn't want any more. I was
She's
wrong.
a good bartender.
She's a really good bartender.
She's a very good bartender.
She hits you with that bill.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Have fun trick-or-treats with the kids if you're going to go do that. Please don't ruin too many trick-or-treats with anyone else. I think I see a Jogan Richard Dawkins thing that just popped up.
What?
Yeah, and I just watched Joe Rogan with Edward Snowden. I wanted to let everyone know about because that was super duper cool. And I know a lot of people hate Joe Rogan, and we'll talk about this another time. We need other voices out there, right? That we don't agree with, because we still learn things even if we don't agree with them. So that's where I stand. But anyways, I digress. I just saw that and that looks cool. So I'm going to put that on my watch list because that was just 2 podcasts ago. And the Edward Snowden thing came out today. So fucking dope. I'm going to watch that Richard Dawkins thing.
Yes, if it's Richard Dawkins, I will be watching it. Before we do get off, I do want to brag a little bit for my birthday. Brant, who is one of our mods and one of our patrons, and
our Lord
my BFF. So he made a jewelry box for me by hand, and it has dinosaurs and stars and hearts. Apparently they glow in the dark, and it's got secret compartments and all kinds of cool things that you have to do. You have to pull these 2 things out right here in order to open the bottom part out, and there's secret compartments. Anyway, I wear charms on this bracelet, and I can put the charms, these come out, and slide them on so I can display them instead of keeping them in little bags to look at them. He is so smart, and this is so cool. And
he made that by hand?
Yes, I can. It smells like polyurethane.
Still smells like essence?
Yeah, like polyurethane. And it's so humid here in Florida that it was sitting on the table, and I went to pick it up, and I was like, because it's just Florida. But I love it so much. And then one tiny little shout out. His niece is very little, and she's not going to watch this podcast, but she did ask him, how is the turtle? And I wanted to let her know that the turtle made it to Florida, and the turtle made a friend who is a frog. And they live together, and the turtle will be happy here. And that's all. And thank you, Brent.
That's super sweet.
Yes,
that's super sweet.
So
Brent's
cute.
Awesome.
She also helped with the hearts and the stickers and the dinosaurs. So there was child labor involved. I'm very sorry.
It's okay. You gave her a shout out. That's the equivalent of 2 months' pay in Mexico.
Yeah. They had no money. It was non-capital. That was wonderful.
Yes, I love it. I love this.
Stay humanist, for God's sakes, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.